Coming at you full-fledged, it's your boy Regg, with another video for y'all, man. Welcome, YouTube. Coming straight in, hit that like button, man. Comment at the beginning, middle, and end of the video. Share for others to see. Subscribe if you're new. Of course, hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop. And let's get straight into it, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 2021-2022 NBA season is officially over. We have new, old because this is the franchise's 7th championship, but new because they just won it less than 2 weeks ago. We have new NBA champions. Of course, a lot has happened between the championship celebration and the final buzzer of Game 6. So we will address it all. As you all know, who have watched my recap videos, I do not ever cover every single game of the series. I don't cover every single game. Well, I don't cover every single game in my recaps, basically. That's because that would be quite extensive to make a video for every game. So I'd rather cover the final game of the series and then mention correlating details and moments from the previous games which led to the win. In this case, the title win. So, with that being said, first, let's give credit to and talk about the runner-ups. The second seed in the Eastern Conference, the 51-31 Boston Celtics. Now, we know about the Celtics at this point. We already know their history, how they got here. Under first-year head coach Ime Udoka, second best team in the regular season, the best defensive team in the league. Like I said before, all the intangibles I listed in the conference finals recap. They have battle-tested length, skill, defense, offensive firepower, all that. And they were battle-tested with the prior playoff experience and this run. Not just the prior playoff experience. This run alone just gave them so much experience, more than anybody else outside of the NBA champions. They swept the Brooklyn Nets, and they next two series went to 7. So, and it all led to this moment. So we're going to address the players who stood out in Game 6. So, before we address the players, let's address the team altogether. In Game 6, Boston, they lost their 5th championship in 22 title series appearances, which is pretty crazy to me that they've been in that many championship rounds and they only lost 5. That's pretty wild. When you think about it. But yeah, that's the case. 22 title appearances. This is their 5th championship loss. Y'all saw what happened in this final game. The Celtics came out super hot, taking a 14-2 lead. Now, how it was initially looking, I thought the series was going to go to 7. I thought this was one of those games, by this time, we really didn't see Boston lose 2 straight, but they did lose 2 straight in Game 5. But we didn't think. I mean, if you've been paying attention just to precedent, I didn't think they was gonna. You wouldn't think they were gonna lose 3 straight times how they came out. I thought that, but then as I predicted previously, the Celtics had one of those Celtic games. They had one of those Celtic games where they would go minutes without scoring. They got 3-point happy, and they put up hella turnovers. And that resulted in a 35-8 run. And by halftime, the opponents was up by 20. They were up by 20 by halftime. They had a 12-point lead in like the first 3 minutes of the game. By halftime, they down 20. Now, I told y'all once before, I hate being this guy, but I told y'all once before, you cannot get in a 3-point shootout with the NBA champions. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Now, the Celtics, they shot well. They shot well from 3. They shot 39%. They shot 39%. That's damn good. 11 for 28. But the NBA champs, again, they shot 19 for 46 from the 3, which is just 2 percentages better at 41 than the Celtics. But look at, it's almost 10 away from doubling the amount that Boston shot. Yeah, see, it's not necessarily just the amount of threes made that cost Boston a chip. If you watch any of their opponents' games, not just in this playoff run, but their entire run since umpteenth years ago, you know their threes come in runs. Their threes come in runs. They will miss, like, they will go like, for example, let's say somebody on the fast break decide not to take a layup. Somebody get to the corner quick enough, he pass it out. And that's a 3, that's 1. Then they get them hot, then everybody else going to keep moving around, and they're going to keep finding threes consecutively. It comes in runs. That's the difference between their threes and every other team in the league's threes. And as you see, the Celtics cannot stop it, which ultimately led them to losing in 6 games in what I would consider to be quite the successful season for this team, considering that I did not expect them to make it out of the East. I did not expect them to make it out of the East. Again, I had the Suns and Bucks, and I was way off. But it's a pretty good. It's a good thing in my opinion to see multiple teams in the finals. I wasn't opposed to the matchup at all, considering like this the historical perspective for me, and the fact that those two teams haven't faced each other in over 40 years, I think. And just the freshness of it all. You know, last year was fresh. It just happened to be one of my favorite teams in the finals. I like that finals. I like 2019 finals. I like variety. I like the parity. How many teams, just to digress a little bit, how many teams have in the 2020s won the championship? You got the Lakers, you got the Bucks, and you got this team. Okay, so far in this decade, we got 3 different teams that have won the championship. Will this be a decade where we see a dominant team Or will this be like a 1970s when we only see two teams like win it more than once? And it wasn't even in a row. So will this be this type of year where we have the most parity in the league? We will see, because the super team era is indeed over. I don't see no other player going that route of the next generation. I don't see no next generation player doing that. Now, all the Kyries and the KDs and the LeBrons and the James Hardens and the Westbrooks, and the Westbrooks, they gonna do that because they running out of time. But I don't see the young guys doing that, man. And this team is gonna be here to stay for sure. But enough of me rambling. Let me get to now. Let me now acknowledge the players on this team that stood out and got them this far. In this game 6, they really didn't have too much help from their bench, as they bench put up a combined 5 points. Those 5 points came from Grant Williams and Derek White. Now, those were two players that came off the bench in previous series and even earlier in this series who stepped up. But there were no-shows in this game for sure. There were definitely no-shows. Robert Williams, he put up 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 blocks. He played with a bum knee most of this entire playoff run, which most players in the league would not do today. Most players in the league would not do today. So, and he added a crucial dimension to Boston's defense. So, I can't fault him one bit in his effort, man. I discovered Robert Williams on 2K, man, and what I discovered on Robert Williams, I mean, this was probably like a couple of months ago, but I discovered on 2K before I discovered as a player, and crazily enough, what I discovered here in the game turned out to be true. Like, this dude is a dog, man. He could get those boards. He played defense. He got size, man. When you leave him open, he get in the rhythm and get some nice little quick shots off, and he did that. Again, I can't fault him one bit in this run. Al Horford, the veteran / leader of this team, in Game 6 had 19 points. He shot 6 for 8 from the field, and he had 14 boards. Now, he had a few stinkers. in this series, but they wouldn't have got that far without him, I'm certain, especially considering how Game 1 turned out. No Al Horford, they may lose in 5. Really. And in this final game, he left it all on the line. So, in his first ever NBA Finals, for him at least, it's not going to want to be his last. In his first NBA Finals, he did his thing. 15 years in, he showed that veteran leadership. Game 2, he really didn't step up. I mean, another player in this series that I'll talk about later, he got away with a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, he kind of performed, and he could have played a little better in those losing efforts. So, it is what it is on that. Marcus Smart in Game 6 had 9 points. He shot 9 for 12 from the field. He had 9 points. He put up 6 boards. The 2022 Defensive Player of the Year. What can I say? The last guard to do so since Gary Payton in 1996. Smart, he played well throughout the playoffs. Now, the finals, rather, I don't have too much to compliment him on in the finals because for the most part, the defensive player of the year was getting cooked. Now, I saw some things on social media I saw this person on social media, I forgot his name. I think it's Bucket Center. If you want to go follow him on Instagram, go check out his channel. He brought up that this was the greatest performance by the leader of their opponent's team against their great defense. And that made me think about another finals performance where the defensive player of the year got utterly destroyed by the eventual MVP. And that was Shaq matched up against the Dikembe Mutombo back in the 2001 NBA Finals. Now, I just gave Smart his credit for his defensive ability, especially at guard. But he wasn't able to guard his offensive matchup. He wasn't able to guard him. He couldn't guard him. You have to play real defense in the finals. Now, that's where the comparison stopped because Dikembe Mutombo is an all-time great shot blocker and rebounder, one of the greatest defensive players of all time. That flopping and leaving players open for non-contested threes can't happen. That cannot happen. So, I think it's safe to say, at least for now, that Smart is one of the worst Defensive Player of the Year award winners. That's just so far. We have to see how his career goes, but he's up there with I guess you could say Marcus Camby, he was a good defender, but Defensive Player of the Year, did he even make I don't know. Marcus Camby, like a Marcus Camby or I would have to look that up. Actually, I'm gonna make a video on that. I'm glad I just brought that up. Be looking out for some of the worst Defensive Player of the Year videos on the way, man. Me personally, of course, I had the Phoenix Suns' Mikal Bridges as the winner from the jump. I think he was more offensively consistent. I don't know the numbers. I know for sure, though, that Smart doesn't have a better field goal percentage. And he was guarding damn near the same players Smart were. So, maybe next year when it comes to Bridges. But, again, Smart, you got to play real defense in the finals, bro. That flopping shit, bro. The referees, again, they don't want nothing to do with the outcome, especially if it's close. So they not going to call that, man. And you leaving players wide open for threes, you're going to lose. And that's what they did. So, let's transition. Jaylen Brown, in this last game, did his thing with 34 points, shooting 12 of 23, grabbing 7 boards, and dropping 3 dimes. Now, for the ones that don't know, when the NBA Finals was going on, Brown was voted second in the Finals MVP race. In an alternate reality, I would have had Brown win the award. If somehow the Celtics were to take this to 7 games and they were to win, I would have had Brown as the Finals MVP. Going back to my conference finals recap video, all the things I said about Brown translated to this round. The guy bleeds green, man. I'm telling y'all, the dude bleed green. I'm not even a Celtics fan. Jaylen Brown, that's a real Celtic right there, man. He's a scrappy, physical defender who can make timely, clutch plays on both ends of the court. Now, mainly, this the main thing that I noticed that translated. He can step up as the number one guy. And when needed, as we saw in Game 6 and in the entire round, bro, he can step up as the main guy. I've been seeing this, and I've been saying it on my Instagram and YouTube. The best player on the Celtics is not undisputed, bro. Like this been the case since these two got on the team. Brown, sometimes he can be a little inconsistent. Yeah, he may not average the amount of points his counterpart is, but he's probably shooting better, and when he's consistent, he's even better. So, man, it's just he gotta bring them points up if you really want to take over. You gotta bring them points. You gotta demand the ball, or you gotta talk to Udoka or something, bro. If you really want that number one guy, you want that number one spot, and you want to be that number one guy. And I just saw something earlier today that you liking pictures on Instagram talking about how the Celtics fans disrespect you. So, well, how long did that finals really hold them off breaking up? How long did that finals really, how long do y'all think that finals really just held off the breakup between these two players, man? Because do y'all think they really finna be together for like more than 2 more seasons? Y'all think that? I don't know what their contracts look like. Again, I'm not a guru GM. I don't know cap spaces and luxury tax or any of that. But yeah, y'all see these two being together longer than 2 more years? Who knows? We will see. And the final player that I have to mention, Jaylen Brown's counterpart. The first ever Eastern Conference Finals Larry Bird MVP, Jason Tatum. Tatum had a historically bad series, and he capped it off with one final showcase. Final? Get it? Final? I'm joking. I'm playing. Well, he dropped 13 points, shooting 6 for 18 from the field. That's around 33%. 1 for 4 from three-point line. That's 25%. And had 5 turnovers. Committed 5 turnovers. The issue with Tatum in this game was the same issue the entire team had in the round. And that's too many threes, too many turnovers. And Tatum, he had the most turnovers in a single playoff run. He just passed LeBron James in that stat, one of his childhood heroes. And how fitting that he either tied or passed the childhood heroes in a bad way in this series. And they, and the straw that broke the camel's back was they weren't taking advantage of their mismatches. They were not taking advantage of their mismatches. The biggest team out there, we talked about this in the conference finals. This is the biggest team in the finals. The biggest team out there couldn't score at least 100 points in 4 of the 6 games. The biggest team out there got locked up. They couldn't score 100 in 4 of the 6 games. While Tatum was trying to be Kobe, while Tatum was trying to be a 6'10 Kobe Bryant, while Tatum was trying to be a 6'10 Kobe Bryant Jr., he ended up getting what he wished for. He had a Kobe-esque finals debut, averaging around 21.5 points, shooting an abysmal 36.7% from the field, and 65.6% from the free throw line. Not to mention the 3.8 turnovers that he committed per game. Now, Bryant averaged in 2000 in his first ever finals 15.6 points, shooting the same 36.7% from the field and 20% from the free throw line. In that series in 2000. Now, I don't know which one is worse. The fact that Tatum shooting threes, being one of the biggest players on the court, or Bryant shooting that bad with Shaq getting triple teamed. I don't know which one is worse. Now, that's crazy when you think about it. It's 2 different situations. Well, it's kind of the same. Both of them was jacking up shots. Jacking up shots from everywhere on the court, damn near, for Kobe, and just from the 3-point line for Tatum. But the difference is, Kobe didn't have a primary size mismatch on every player on the court. Jason Tatum does, and he's still shooting threes for whatever reason. Just don't make sense, man. Like, that series just told me they don't have it mentally to, like, beat a championship team. Like, if this team want to be back on that stage, starting at the top with him, he has to make some changes, man. He has to make some changes to his game. He has to probably get in the weight room, man. Get in the weight room. Try some contact drill routines, man. Get rough in there. Use your 3 less, man. I mean, you can use it, but only when you open, bro. Like, you're KD. You don't. I mean, you're not. I'm sorry, not KD, but you gotta make some changes, man. You're Jason Tatum. You gotta step up. You're supposedly the leader. Jaylen Brown want to take your spot. You two been battling over the spot for the longest, and now you got Al Horford, a veteran that the whole team gonna listen to over y'all two, if anything. So you got that aspect. They got a lot of growing up to do for sure. They also the Celtics also need a little bit more depth, man. They need a little bit more depth. They got who they got? Payne Pritchard, he's nice, man, but yeah, they need some new guys, man. They need a little bit more depth. I'm gonna mention this guy later. I don't want to mention him right now because I'm still talking about the Celtics. But he said something about their depth that I'm gonna mention later on. But yeah, they need more depth, bro. Maybe a little bit more guard scoring. Maybe you need another guard. Maybe you're kind of good on forwards and centers. Maybe you needed 2 guards. Maybe you needed 2 more guards or something like that. But let's see. How? I don't know Now I don't. I'm sorry. Now I don't know. If the Celtics will be back this year. I don't know if the Celtics gonna be back this year. I mean next year. I mean, yeah. Udoka just took them on a magical run. But now teams are gonna see it coming. Now teams are gonna make sure, okay, this team can't make it that far. So who knows? They may have the Celtics may have their eyes on the opponent that they just faced next year. It might get bounced out in the second round by Giannis and Chris Middleton on other Milwaukee Bucks. Who knows? So time will only tell on that.